All right. So this video is just a quick check-in for those of you who tried to push your project up to your GitHub repository and ended up getting an error that looked something like this on your screen that says you do not have the proper password authentication in order to connect your computer to GitHub. And this was a change that GitHub made pretty recently, which is trying to implement this dual factor authentication approach, which is honestly just kind of a pain in my opinion. But I'm just going to show the steps, which are pretty straightforward and talked through on GitHub, but just to make sure that you're following them and feel confident you're headed in the right direction. So this is an example of trying to read errors and not taking them as telling you you're dumb or that you did something wrong. It's trying to be informative, even though at first when I started seeing errors and notices like this on R or on GitHub, I just sort of glazed over. But it's pretty intuitive. Support for password authentication was removed on August 1st, 13th, 2021. So pretty recently. Please use a personal access token instead. And then it gives you a link to read more about it. And so then your fatal error is that your authentication failed. But if we follow this link that they give us, what it does is it really outlines the whole history of why Git has decided to go to this sort of authentication approach. And if you would like to read into that, go into the background, totally great. I can point you in the direction of which links to follow to try to get past this error as quickly as possible. Because it's pretty straightforward what you need to do today. We're going to follow these instructions for developers where we want to generate our own personal access tokens, which is more or less just a secondary password for us. And so we'll follow this link under what you need to do today by setting up a personal access token. And these directions outline, I think it's a 10-step process for creating a token, which you can do entirely on just your GitHub account. So there really isn't even a need for me to show you this on my own GitHub account because Git is a pretty user-friendly interface once you get used to it, at least in its instructions. And so it will walk you through opening up your account, going to settings, developer settings, generating a personal access code. It does ask you to give it a descriptive name. Tyler, I don't know, might have a different opinion on this, but to me, this has never mattered. I more or less said, this is my GitHub access token. And I think that the true purpose of this authentication is to generate new tokens fairly frequently, which would better protect your account. My personal take was that there is an expiration option to never expire, which is the approach that I've taken so that I really only had to deal with this once. If you click on the do not expire expiration option, Git will say, please don't, this is a bad idea, this is not secure. Personally, I did it anyways. You can really make your own decision. I think that if you have it expire, you will then just have to keep regenerating these tokens based on whatever time frame you set, and go through this process that we're walking through now, which is not complicated, is safer, but I would say this is your choice. Then GitHub will show you which sort of access bits to allow yourself. I think in the end of the day, I would say you can permit all access or just click on the things that they ask you to. And then there'll be a green button that says generate token. And what it will do is it will give you this long string of sort of old school Wi-Fi password sort of approach. And you can go ahead and copy that and store it where you keep your password stored. But if you went for a non-expiring option, you'll really only need it once, because you can copy this over. And what you're going to do is we're going to walk through the same steps that I just showed in the other video to do this Git staging, committing, and pushing. And this time, instead of entering your username password, you will enter the authentication code. So if you remember, this is where we were. Because I've already committed this, Git does not look like I have any edits. But if your Git pushing failed, it will have deleted all of the steps that you tried to do. So it won't have staged, it won't have committed, it will have gotten rid of your message. So you'll have to do those steps all over again. So, I could add another bit of information just to provide some updates. And now my Git has repopulated. So this is where you should look. And to walk through these steps again, you can stage, commit, write yourself another message. Now you can see the addition I've made. Commit this, close it, and push it. And again, if you get the prompt for your username, enter your GitHub username. And if you get the prompt for the password, now is the time to paste in that authentication code. And you should, after that, get what looks like a successful head to master notification. There is a chance for Mac users. I was working with some other students, have seen this question of, can we allow access to your keychain type software? And in that case, it prompted for the computer password to connect to some of the applications on the computer. So that is something that could come up. But as far as I know, if you can get that authentication code, put it in as your password, you should be good to go. If not, you can shoot me an email and we can troubleshoot from there.